Welcome back on Kansas Sports Chatter. It's time now to continue to preview some of the state playoffs that are heading our way for the sub-state round, especially on the west side of the brackets, as we will bring in our guests from Hill Brothers Football. That is Brandon Hill and also Brian Hill. Hey, guys, appreciate you joining us. Before we talk about any individuals, anything that stood out to you as you guys have followed along in the playoffs, any surprises or anything that's kind of excited you so far in the results?
Oh, not much. I mean, it's kind of the same names as we see every year in the postseason, kind of making their run right now. So, no, I not a whole lot of surprises on my end.
What about you, Brian? Anything that stood out?
Oh, just last week we saw some upsets, in the higher classes. That were kind of some surprises with Mays going down and Derby beating Wichita Northwest. But again, those two teams, Derby and Manhattan, sure have a pedigree of postseason success, and they kind of showed that they weren't going to go away quietly.
Well, if anyone wants to check out what's going on in Western Kansas for football, you got to check out Hill Brothers Football. That's Hill Bros FB on Facebook and at Twitter. You can check them out there. It's kind of great on the matchups and also a lot of the individuals that are shining. We'll start with you, Brian. In Class 5A, you look at on the west side of the brackets, Great Bend, Salina Central for a chance to get to the state title game.
Yeah, Great Bend, played a great game, a pretty epic game, having to play Hayes for a second time 2 years in a row. And, with a big stop there on fourth down and 3 yards to go at the end of the game, put them into this game. And, the same characters that have been making plays for them all year long have, really came to play again that night, Friday night. And Ian Premer was, basically, man on a mission, was doing a little bit of everything. Didn't have quite as big a game as he had in the first matchup that they had with Hayes, but obviously Hayes was trying to pay closer attention. But he did get the scoring started with a great catch, and got Great Bend off to a great start. But Cooper Amont, in the 2 touchdown catches, one of them there late in the game on a third down and long that, really helped kind of give Great Bend some momentum when they really needed it. And, of course, Daxton Minton, how he played, he's been playing great first 3 rounds of the playoffs, has been really kind of a man of all trades. He rushed for 70 yards or so and had another good game throwing the football and had 3 touchdowns. So, offensively, Great Bend has really proven that, they can score a lot of points. And if you're going to beat them, one of the biggest things you got to do is score. And, that's a very difficult task, especially with the Kern brothers. Seems like they're always on a tackle. Trenton had 17 and Cale had 14 tackles. And between the two of them, they're a tough task. And with all the other guys that they have there on defense, just makes it difficult. So, the game against Salina Central will be an interesting one. Salina Central, I know, does run the football well, and but the offense is going to have to score some points because we know that Great Bend's so explosive. Another game that we really thought was a big one. Victoria and Hodgman County are two teams that matched up in week 8. That this will be a rematch. It's Hodgman County's only loss, and so it'll be a big game for him. The Huser kid we talked about the last time I was on, he's had a big game, and the running back, he's been, having a great game here in the playoffs. So, I expect a big matchup and a close game again, like we did in week 8 in that game.
A fun one in Victoria, that is for sure. Brandon, you go to Class 2A, Hoisington at Southeast of Saline. A couple undefeated ones, should be a good one.
Yeah, it looks like Hoisington's making another run this year in the playoffs, and they're up against defending state champs Southeast Saline, so that'll be a tough one. Hoisington looks a little different this year. I mean, they still run flex bone and still grind it out, but Coach Baird's opened it up a little bit now with quarterback Mason Martin. They've got some big plays in the passing game here lately, especially with weapons like Brody Fawnenstiel and Carson Mason. So they're a little bit tougher matchup this year, and it could pose a problem in that matchup against Southeast Saline.
You go down to, the 8-man and 6-man ranks as we'll preview now. I mean, like South Central at Hill City. I mean, Hill City, I don't want to say they surprised anybody, but they've pulled off some really nice wins here on their run to the sub-state round.
Yeah, Hill City, lost week 1 to Trigo and then ripped off, 9 in a row there, and then had the rematch last week and ended up pulling the upset. And, Trigo, I think, was on a lot of people's radar to maybe make it to a state championship game this year. So, hats off to Hill City. But, that South Central Wichita County game was kind of a crazy one because Wichita County had the lead at halftime, and then South Central, kind of took over in the second half. I mean, Easton Huck, the quarterback, man, he had some big plays of the run game. And then, he's got that big weapon with Jack Hurd, that 6'4" kid at tight end that, a couple times just throw it up to him and he made a play. But, for them knocking off Wichita County and now playing Hill City, it looks like they got a chance to represent here in the West in 8-man Division I.
Again, showcasing the west side of the brackets of some of these classifications. What stands out about that 6-man matchup with Weskin at home against South Barber?
Yeah, that should be an interesting matchup. It's kind of contrasting styles where Weskin's more of a running team, I would say. I mean, 6-man's wide open as it is, but, Carson Wright had a huge game against Ingles with, 400 and some yards and 8 touchdowns. He's such a weapon when he touches the ball. He's so fast that in that open field in 6-man. And then South Barber, they're more of a passing team with, quarterback Austin Swanger. I mean, I think he's got like 42 touchdown passes on the year. And so that'll be an interesting high-scoring game, and probably will come down to the, last few possessions to make sure, who's going to move on in that 6-man West division.
I gotta imagine, like, I just had this vision of you guys, like, on Friday nights. Like, how many, like, video streams do you have and, like, huddle streams do you have of ball games on Friday nights?
Quite a bit. I'm trying to watch several of them, write down certain names, follow stats, and yeah, Friday nights are pretty crazy for me for sure. I mean, with Brian coaching and stuff, his hasn't been as busy, but we talk over the weekend and try to catch each other up.
Hey guys, appreciate the time and also the insight.
Thanks for having us, Cole.
Thanks, Cole.
That is Brian Hill and also Brandon Hill with Hill Brothers Football. You can check them out on social media with Hill Bros FB for all the latest and the greatest for high school football in the western part of the state.